It's time to introduce our first speaker. In January, when I got this idea for this conference, it started to kind of take shape. And when I decided to go for it, immediately I knew who the first speaker was going to be. Like the dates were decided after I made sure that these dates work for him. And also, I've been playing around with the schedule and who goes when and all that. But this first lot, there was no question. There just wasn't a question. So, I told you that I read the book Clarity 18 months ago that introduced me to this understanding that we're exploring this weekend. And then I went to a workshop that this guy was doing. And then after that, I signed up to a year-long training program with him in London. And for the past year and a half, there's no person who has had a bigger influence in my life than Jamie Smart, our first speaker. So I'm really excited that he came here and he's going to open this conference. And maybe say a few things about Jamie. First of all, he's the author of 2 best-selling books, Clarity, Clear Mind, Better Performance, Bigger Results, and the Little Book of Clarity, which we have here. He is a coach, a trainer, workshop facilitator, all sort of thing, bloggist. But most of all, he is one hell of a human being with a great presence, a great way to get his point across, to create an amazing feeling in this, it's this space in the room where he's talking. And I really look forward to him opening this event for you and for you to experience that for yourself for the next hour and 40 minutes. So without further ado, welcome on stage. Let's give it a big hand to Mr. Jamie Smart.
Thanks, Nico.
I'll leave it to you.
Hey guys, can we just give a huge round of applause to Nico? This is just incredible. I know how much effort is involved in getting something like this to happen, getting a group of people in a room, getting speakers to come from around the world, getting amazing, technology set up to facilitate it. And I'm really grateful to be here. I'm really grateful to be here with those of you I haven't met yet, to be here with friends, with colleagues. With one of my mentors, Dickon Bettinger, is speaking at the end of today. That's going to be amazing. And many other great speakers as well. And there's just some words that, that I read on this sign and the sign outside. The word potential. Oh, the word unlimited. I like that word. I like the word potential. Free and freedom. And the word paradigm. So those are some of the things we're going to be exploring. And Nico said something. No, actually, it was Eric's video when he said, he'd been to lots of multi-speaker events and it was kind of confusing, but then this, with everyone saying the same thing, that at a certain point the ego goes, and gives up and things start to change. And that really struck me. Like when I first came to the understanding that you're going to be exploring and we're going to be exploring together this weekend, I was always hungry for content. Give me more content, give me more information. And And it was very satisfying to me, and I would make lots of notes of it, and they would sit in my notebooks and do whatever they did there. And as I started to explore this understanding, what I discovered for myself is that there's a different way of learning that we've all been doing our whole lives, but we just haven't necessarily noticed it. And you know, when someone says something like, we're all going to be talking about the same thing this weekend, the thing we're going to be pointing to, talking about, looking in the direction of, is the innate source of potential, the innate source of freedom, the innate source of possibility that lives within each one of us. And I'm going to be making various assertions this weekend. So for instance, I'm going to say things like, you've evolved for reality. You're optimized for reality. And I'll be saying things like, it only works one way. Life, our perception, only works one way. But here's the thing. I don't want you to take my word for those things. I don't want you to believe me because I say it. Instead, I'm going to invite you to evaluate it against your own experience. I'm going to point you in the direction of your own experience. So I'm not here to share my ideas with you. I don't have any ideas worth writing down, I promise you. It may seem like I do, but I promise you I've got no ideas worth writing down. What I'm going to be attempting to do is to create a space, to create a conversation where you can see something that's already there within you. A source of unlimited potential and possibility that lives within every single one of us. And so that's what I want to do. And Nico, he asked for a topic, and the topic we came up with was "The Search is Over," which is the name of a talk I gave a while ago. He said, "Yeah, I really like that title. It's really great." So I said, "Okay, yeah, great. We'll go with that." And then over the last 2 days, I was kind of reflecting about it in my own experience. And I thought, well, maybe I'll change the title to "The Search is Over, Except When It Isn't." and the reason I say that, like I used to run a workshop a long time ago called The Art of Being. And people would come to this workshop, and typically it was people who had done lots of stuff. They'd read lots of books, they'd been to lots of seminars, they'd done lots of stuff. And so they would come to this thing, which is kind of the next thing. And I'd issue an invitation, and the invitation is kind of what Eric was talking about. I said, I want you to open to the possibility that whatever you've been searching for, whatever you've been looking for, whatever your heart desires, that you can find it here, that you can find it this weekend. And people would start to shift uncomfortably in their chairs. And it was because so many of us have been really, really used to seeking and searching, and comfortable with seeking and searching. But the idea of actually finding what you're looking for, it's like, whoa, this weekend's a little soon. Like, let me take notes on it, and then I'll review them over the next few weeks, and I'll create some space in my diary to have my heart's desire. Oh, by the way, I may pause from time to time, because I'm kind of waiting for what to say next. So if I do, don't worry, I haven't gone into sleep saver mode or something. So the search is over. What does that mean? Well, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So I used to, when I was a little kid, lived in a lot of stress and worry and anxiety. And then when I was 12, I found a brilliant technique for dealing with it, which is I would drink lots of alcohol. And it was really, really effective. It would just like brought me into the moment, it made me very present. I was like, wow, this is great. But it caused lots of problems as well. And so when I was in my early 30s, I decided to stop drinking. And when I stopped drinking, I started going nuts, which really surprised me because everyone's theory for me was that if I would stop drinking, then my life would get significantly better. But that was not my experience. It got significantly worse. And so I started searching for a solution. And what I wanted was, I wanted to feel good. I wanted to feel good. I wanted to have a nice feeling for life. Just do me a favor. Put your hand up if you'd like to have a nicer feeling for life more of the time. Oh, okay, I'm in the right room. Yeah. And so that's what I was looking for. Well, it turns out that's what I was looking for in alcohol. I was just looking to have a nicer feeling for life and freedom from the limitation and anxiety that I'd been living in. So I went on a journey, and I went, funnily enough, one of the first things I went to in 1998 was a 2-day workshop. And going into that workshop, I had all kinds of ideas about what was possible for me and what was not possible. And during that workshop, I had an insight. And the insight was, you can do whatever you want to do. You can, all the limitations that you've been experiencing until now are made up. You made them up. I saw that to some degree. Now, I blamed it on the workshop. What I didn't realize is that insight comes from within you. It's not I didn't get that idea from the workshop leader. It's something that shows up within you when your head clears, when you've got nothing on your mind. It's funny. I did a talk to a group called the Institute of Actuaries a few weeks ago. And I was getting ready to do the talk. It was like the day before or something. And my client goes to me, one of my clients says, oh, Institute of Actuaries, they're gonna hate you. I said, how come? He goes, have you ever met an actuary? I didn't know what an actuary was. He said, oh, actuaries are the people who evaluate risk assessment and that sort of thing for insurance companies. He said, oh yeah, they're super detail-oriented, devil's advocate, need empirical evidence for everything, super data-focused. He goes, and you're super big chunk, philosophical, that sort of thing. He says, they're gonna hate you. I thought about it, and I thought the beauty of what we have to share here is that it stands up to the desire for empirical evidence. And it's the first thing I've ever found. When I got to this understanding, I was like an expert in human belief systems and how to change them. And so when people started telling me what we're going to be exploring here is something that's already true about life, we're going to be exploring principles. That's another thing you're going to hear about this weekend, principles. When I was told that, I was very dismissive. I was like, no way, man, it's all belief systems. There's nothing, you can't say anything's true, it's all just metaphors. Yeah. And finally someone said, I said, people can think anything and believe it's true. Like, that's our experience, right? People can think anything and believe it's true. You know people who, put your hand up if you know someone who believes something that everyone else can see as patently untrue. Do you know anyone like that? Yeah. Put your hand up if you've ever been someone who believed something that was clearly untrue. I'll put my hand up because I still am someone who patently believes. Hello, Alexi. I still am someone who believes things that are patently untrue on a regular basis, like on a daily basis. I'll give you an example. This morning, I got up 7 o'clock and I was really excited because the hotel we're staying in has a really good gym in it. So I was like, oh great, I'm gonna get down there, I'm gonna use the gym. And I get down there at 7 o'clock, it says, Saturday morning, gym opens 9 a.m. I was like, you kidding me? Don't they know who I am? I've got a conference to go to. And then it hits me. Little voice in my head goes, where do you think your feelings are coming from? Do you think they're coming from the gym and the time and the hotel and the schedule? And I'm like, oh. For a second I did there. And I fell out of my misunderstanding. See, that song that was playing just before I came in, Superstition by Stevie Wonder. He said, when you believe in things that you don't understand, then you suffer. When you no, I'm not going to do it. But when, and Chantal's a beautiful singer. So if you ask her nicely, I'm sure she'll do a much better rendition of Superstition than I could ever do. But she'll play hard to get at first, so you're going to have to really, you're going to have to really like just insist. So yeah, when you believe in things you don't understand, then you suffer. And there's a way in which you can look at the evolution of human knowledge as a process of clearing up those misunderstandings. You know, we used to believe that the earth was flat. And then it's like we didn't understand that it was round. And so sailors used to suffer because they'd be all freaked out that they were going to go off the edge. And then we cleared that up. No, we know, anyone in here believe the earth is flat? But it looks flat. Now, if we'd been holding this seminar a couple of 1,000 years ago, we said, does anyone in here believe the earth's round? No one would have put their hands up. Because they knew that it was flat. Because it looks flat. You know, people used to believe that the earth was the center of the solar system. And so the process of human evolution, the evolution of our knowledge, has been a process of closing the gap between how we think life works and how it actually works. And the fact that we're here today and have, you know, amazing technology and, you know, we all look, you know, pretty healthy and don't look like people from medieval England when things were rough in the health system, is a function of our increasing understanding of how life already works. And so what I'm going to be suggesting and what my fellow speakers are going to be suggesting is that there's a way life already works. Always. No exceptions. 100% of the time. Even, and I'm very clear on this, even when the gym's closed. So that's worth knowing. Because that's what a paradigm is. You know, a new hatchback gets released and people say, this is a new paradigm for motoring. No, it's not. It's got wheels and an engine. That's not a new paradigm. A new paradigm is something that points to how life already works. It clears up our misunderstandings of how life works. And so I'm going to be talking about that paradigm. And the other thing I'm going to be suggesting is that you've evolved. Evolved to thrive, evolved to grow, evolved to prosper, to succeed, whatever your idea of. It's so interesting. So where this all started out is back in the early 1970s, a welder, a guy named Sydney Banks from Scotland who was in his 40s, had a sudden, profound insight into the nature of life. Now, history is full of people having insights of one sort or another. In fact, many of the technological innovations we enjoy today are the results of insights people have had over the years. But what Banks had an insight into is psychology and how our minds work and how our experience works. And so the title of this talk is The Search is Over. And when I said the search is over, except when it isn't, what I'm going to be pointing to is that we're all, and this is the first thing that Sydney Banks saw, was that we're all living in the feeling of thought in the moment. It looks to us like we're living in the feeling of the gym, or the future, or the past. It looks to us like, it seems to us like we're living in the feeling of other people, or what they said to us, or what's happening next week, or our jobs. Or it seems like we're living in the feeling of what I'm like as a person, or my limitations, or my personality. But that's not true. We're always living in the feeling of the principle of thought taking form in the moment, moment to moment to moment to moment. And so I was talking to these actuaries, and like I said, very detail-oriented, wanted evidence for everything. And these guys had been given responsibility for figuring out the future of their profession. And so I said to them, okay, you're here for a couple of days, and you want to get a really good result from it. You want to get what you've come for, whatever that might be. So here's my question for you. How will you know that you've got what you came for? What's your evidence going to be? You guys said you're evidence-based. What's your evidence going to be? And they were kind of like, whoa, we never thought of that. So I said to them, get into groups and just talk about it. And so I'd love you guys to do that, just for a minute. I want you to turn to the person next to you and just ask them, what has you here this weekend? See, here's the thing I know. You've all come here for a reason. And some of those may be reasons you're consciously aware of, and some of those may be reasons that are kind of just more intuitive, more kind of, I just felt I wanted to be here. So I want you to turn to the person next to you and just ask, what has you here this weekend? And then shut up and listen to what they say, just for a minute or so. and then swap over. We'll just take like a couple of minutes to do that. Just want to do that. So this will involve talking and moving and stuff like that, but just do that. Now I gotta say, I've been told, I was told before the talk, Jamie, you gotta understand, Finnish people, they don't like putting their hand up. I was told, Finnish people are very warm and open once you get to know them and once they get to know you. But in an audience like this, they're not gonna say anything, they're not gonna put their hand, you're not gonna hear a word from them. But then I chatted to a few people before the talk, and I thought, well, these people are very evolved. I'm sure they will. So I'd love to hear, what did you say that you've come for? What have you come for this weekend? You don't all have to speak at once. Yeah, just shout out. I won't even be able to see you, it's okay. Yeah, what have you come for this weekend? I'm assuming you're here for a reason. Just nod if that's true. You're here for some kind of reason. Hey.
You'll have to do this all weekend.
Someone talked. Yeah, just like. Now here's the thing. Here's the thing I can promise you. Whatever see, so Sydney Banks, what he saw was that there are principles behind human experience. And when I first heard that, I didn't even know what principles were. So I'll give you an example of a principle. Pick something up and drop it. If it's made of glass or it's a computer, don't drop it very far. But literally do it. This is a genuine interactive experience. Now you know, before you even let go of it, what's going to happen, right? Why is that? Gravity. Oh, are you not finished? It's gravity. It's gravity. Well, the experience is what let you know that's what was going to happen. But your experience isn't what made it happen. Gravity's what made it happen. And gravity, the universal gravitation, see, it's totally reliable. It's totally reliable. Gravity is a principle. It's something that's a fact. It works only one way, and it works everywhere in the universe that I ever heard of. It has different strengths depending on where you are, but it works the same way every time. That's a principle. And what Sydney Banks saw is that just like there are principles behind our experience of the physical world, principles like gravity and the laws of thermodynamics and that sort of thing, there are principles behind our felt experience of life. There are principles creating our perceptual world. There are principles creating our relationship with other people. And as you start to see the fact of these principles, it's going to do something for you. It's funny, I met Milo this morning. How old's Milo? 2? 18 months? 2? So Milo, at the moment, is just getting an understanding of the principle of gravity. He's still learning about it. Now, you guys are all experts at it. Milo's just learning about it. But he doesn't have to go to gravity camp or anything like that. Because he's learning about gravity automatically, because gravity is a fact of life. So if something's a fact of life, you get automatic learning. Well, actually, if something's a fact of life and it's obvious, you get automatic learning. Effortless learning. So that's what Milo's going through with gravity. Gravity is a fact of life. It's obvious, you can't miss it. So you get automatic learning. Take something like germs. Germs are a fact of life. But are germs obvious? Not at all. They're so not obvious that some of the smartest people in history didn't know about them. And so, to get people learning about them, you have to make it visible. And once you make it visible, it becomes automatic. So I'll give you an example. One of my clients has a little girl who lives in Singapore. When she went to school, 4 years old, teacher goes, today we're going to learn about germs. And so, you know that glitter that little girls really like? She says, let's put glitter on 2 of the kids and see where the glitter is at the end of the day. So where was the glitter at the end of the day? Everywhere. The teacher goes, that's what germs are like. So she made it visible to the kids. And someone did that for you. Once upon a time, and you maybe don't even remember. I don't remember when someone did that for me. They maybe didn't use glitter. They didn't use glitter with me. I would have remembered that. But someone did that for you, whether you can remember it or not. Someone gave you visibility of a pre-existing fact of life, something that's always true. And you've been learning about it automatically ever since. Does that make sense? This is yes, this is no. Oh, this is the signal for what the hell are you talking about? Anyone? Yeah. So Sydney Banks saw that just like there are principles behind the movement of planets and objects, just like there are principles behind our health and well-being, there are principles behind our experience of life, our felt experience, our psychological experience of life. And my shorthand for that, well, I won't use shorthand. I'm going to call it principles of psychology. The principles behind psychology. I'm going to be suggesting that they are a pre-existing fact of life. So this guy said to me, I said to this guy, you know, people can think anything and believe it, so don't tell me there are facts. And he goes, it's true. People can think anything and believe it and experience it as real. But the fact that people can think anything and experience it as real, that's a fact, isn't it? I thought about it and I was like, yeah, that's true. Holy shit. That's a fact. And he said the fact that people are alive and having an experience, that's a fact, isn't it? I was like, yeah, that's a fact. Like, check it for yourself. You're alive. That's a fact. And you're having an experience. That's a fact. And what I'm going to be suggesting is that the experience you're having is being created from within you every single moment. Now, I'm not saying that my, quite frankly, awesome shoes are being created from within you. That would be very technically challenging. But your experience of them is being created from within you. So if your experiencing of them is, oh my God, those are things of wonder, that's being created from within you. If your experience of them is, those are so long, are they clown shoes? That's being created from within you. If your experience of them is, what's so important about shoes? That's being created from within you. If your experience of them is, they are hideously ugly monstrosities, that's being created from within you. The shoes are neutral. So this is what I'm saying to the actuaries, right? So anyway, there are principles creating our experience of life. They are not obvious. They are so not obvious that if someone didn't get me and hold my head still and point to them again and again and again and again, I wouldn't have noticed them. Have you ever seen the arrow in the FedEx logo? Hands up if you've seen the arrow in the FedEx logo. Okay, look around. About 10 people have. Now, who's never seen the FedEx logo? Okay, maybe one person. Guys, if we can get a FedEx logo up on the screen, it'd be interesting to give people an experience of insight. So if we manage to get it up, that would be great. But thanks, Tess. So these are not obvious until I had them pointed out to me. I just didn't have eyes for them. But once I got them pointed out to me, it was like with gravity or germs. You go on an automatic learning curve. And as you start to see this for yourself, you'll see it again and again and again, more and more universally in your life. And it's going to take things off your mind. It's going to take things off your mind. Who'd like to have less on their mind? Yeah, me too. Me too. Is that going to be easy?
I got it.
You got it. Tess is on the case. Let's give Tess a big round of applause. That's okay. It'll be big enough. So here's the interesting thing. So in a moment, we're going to be seeing what I think is one of the coolest logos ever designed. And
is that good enough?
That's fine. There's a big white arrow in it. Now put your hands up again if you can see the big white arrow. Put your hands up if you haven't seen it yet. And then you're going to hear a little, oh, 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 from around the room. So here's the interesting thing. The moment you see it, see, here's the thing. And I want to be absolutely crystal about this. That arrow's always been there. It's always been there. An insight isn't giving you a new, cool, useful idea about something. An insight is bringing you closer to how reality already is. An insight adjusts your perception and brings it more closely into alignment with how reality already works. Because you've evolved for reality. That's perfect, thanks. Oh, has anyone not seen it yet? Anyone? Cool, thanks, yeah, let me just switch that. You've evolved for reality. And I can prove this. How many of you have a mom or a dad? Or have come from a mom or a dad? Yeah, I thought that was the case. Well, your mom and your dad, they had a mom and a dad too. And it's been like that for a very long time, for literally many, many hundreds of thousands of generations of people who lived to, by definition, every single one of your ancestors lived long enough to hook up with a mate and give birth to an offspring, by definition. And that means, now if you're going to go past the human form, then that process of hooking up goes all the way back to the first creatures that swam up onto the shore out of the ocean, okay? Long time. So that is an extraordinary design cycle. You've evolved for reality. You have the ultimate selection, you've been involved in the ultimate selection process. You've evolved for reality. You haven't evolved for Narnia. Do you guys know what Narnia is? La La Land, somewhere that doesn't exist. Narnia doesn't exist, it's imaginary. So yeah, I hate to break it to you like this. Yeah, it's made up. So you haven't evolved for Narnia or La La Land or anywhere like that. You have evolved for reality. And you're optimized for reality. You, believe it or not, you do great whenever you're in reality. Where you probably struggle is when you hang out in somewhere that doesn't exist. When you go to La La Land. Now, so I'm telling the actuaries about this. See, my job is, and for every, I think every speaker will probably agree with me on this. Our job is to make something visible to you. Something that's true about life, something that's true about you, so that you can start to see it every day for the rest of your life. Just like every time you see that FedEx logo now, you're not going to be able to miss it. As you start to see this for yourself, you're going to see it more and more and more going forward. So this is what I said to the actuaries. I said, there's a way that your experience already works. And when you're in reality, you do great. When you're in reality, you have access to the very same amazing capabilities that Milo has. You know, Milo, he's 2 years old, so he's full of fun and joy and sadness and anger and happiness and creativity and curiosity and gratitude and wonder and silence. He's got all of them within him, and so do you. And when you're hanging out in reality, and when I'm hanging out in reality, we bring whichever of those qualities to the party that makes sense in the moment. Feelings of love and connection, feelings of peace and joy, high performance, brilliant ideas. When we hang out in reality, that's what shows up. And when we step out of reality temporarily, we kind of lose sight of that stuff. So people, when I tell them this, they then go, so how do I spend more time in reality? Seems like an obvious question, doesn't it? I say, wrong question. The right question is, what takes us out of reality? What gets in our way? What muddles things up? What has us step into Narnia? When you believe in things that you don't understand, then you suffer. And what I'm going to be suggesting is that there's a mistaken belief that we all get tricked by from time to time. And it's the mistaken belief that our feelings are coming from anything other than thought in the moment. You know, it's funny. I was going through the notes. I'm kicking off a program next weekend. And I was going through notes I wrote for it a couple of years ago, preparing for the program I ran back then. Asking myself, why am I running this program? And one of the reasons was because I wanted the people I was teaching to be touched so deeply that they became like Johnny Appleseeds for this understanding. Johnny Appleseed is an American figure who planted apple trees all over the USA. And now all over the USA there's apple trees. And I loved the idea that people would be touched by this understanding and then go all around the world and take it. And here we are in Finland, and Nico has created this. And I'm so happy and grateful to be here with you, to be here with sharing this with a group of people who all are drawn to it in some way. Because, you know, when I first got introduced to this, I started to have insights. And I've never had kind of big Hollywood insights where I go overnight from being a anxious, insecure, self-obsessed person to being free and all that sort of stuff. I'm kind of more incremental. But the insights aren't incremental. So the first insight I actually had it while I was asleep and dreaming. And I suddenly saw, oh, everything you've been looking for outside yourself is actually right there inside you. And I woke up in the most beautiful feeling I'd felt in as long as I can remember. And I realized that I'd been the victim of a trick of the mind, innocently. I'd been looking outside myself to accomplishments and to position and wealth and all kinds of things, relationships, all kinds of things, as the source of security, peace of mind, happiness, love, joy. And the first thing I realized is you already have all of those within you, and you always have. Every beautiful feeling you've ever experienced has come from within you. Every unpleasant one as well. And then innocently, you blamed it on something else. You attributed it to something else. Innocently. So I was saying this to the actuaries. I said, well, I'll tell you that in a minute. Actually, I wanted to tell you something else, given that the subject of this talk is searching. I was listening to this old recording by Sydney Banks, and it was the first one I ever heard. It's called Beyond Psychology. And so, because it's the first one I ever heard, the first one I ever got hold of, I've listened to it hundreds of times, love listening to it. And Sydney Banks talks in a thick Scottish accent, and he talks in a very deep way. And so I'd listened to it hundreds of times, and I always got a really nice feeling when I listened to it. But I had no idea what he was on about. I was kind of like, it's sort of very, I didn't really know what to make of it. Then this one time I'm listening to it, and suddenly it was like he was speaking with mathematical precision. It was like it was so clear. And to me it was like that FedEx logo. It's like I'd listened to it hundreds of times and not known what he was on about. And then all of a sudden, it's so obvious. How did I never hear that? And what he said was, you're looking for silence. He said, everybody in the world searches for silence because everyone in the world is looking for their inner selves. He said, now when I say looking for your inner self, I mean your true self, the one that is creating life in the first place. He said, so if you're looking for happiness, if you're looking for security, if you're looking to have a nice, contented, quiet life, he said, in actual fact, you're searching for your inner self, who you really are. And I suddenly saw it. I saw that the very thing we've been looking for is something we carry with us every day of our lives. Something we already have. Something we already are. I saw it that morning. I was taking a train into the city of London, and I saw these people on the train, all in different, some of them happy, some of them looking stressed, some of them looking introspective, all kinds of different things. And I could see, one of them thinks they're stressed out because of a meeting, another one thinks they need a promotion to be happy, another one thinks there's something else they want. In actual fact, they're just looking for themselves. The second insight I had, I saw like I used to be an NLP trainer, and we had kind of a bumper sticker in the NLP world, which was everyone has all the resources they need already within them. And I liked that, and that was useful, and it was a nice idea. And then the second insight I had was, the fact that you can even see or hear or feel or taste or smell means that you have the source of peace and joy and security and love and happiness and creativity already there within you. It's already inside you. You already have it. Everything you've ever looked for is already there inside you. And that was a relief, because that meant, oh, the search is over. And checking the time, because it's so nice and quiet in here. I just love to call an early pause, but I kind of feel like you guys have come for a weekend of fun and excitement, and I don't want to start off by finishing early too soon, but so I'll give you a little more, but I'm going to try and keep it kind of quiet. But I may go quiet a bit because I want to only share something that's going to keep things sweet. You know, some other friends and colleagues and mentors, Chip Chipman and Elsie Spittle and Jan Chipman, they often run an event out in Salt Spring in Canada, which is where Sydney Banks lived. And I was out there a few years ago at an event they were doing at a school. And I had an insight, and I just suddenly saw something. And what I saw was who you really are is not of this world of form. Now here's what I mean. Like, you have hands, and you have a nose, and you have, you know, ideas and a personality and all that stuff. You have all of those. And I have all of those. But who you really are is the one that has those. You have a body. Good, they're very useful. But you're not your body. You're the one that has one. You have a mind, but you're not your mind. You have a personality, but you're not your personality. You're the one that has those things. Who you really are is the intelligence of life. Who you really are is the one that's having this experience. And who you really are is the source of all the creativity, all the peace, all the joy, all the possibility. That's the source of potential. And that source of potential lives within every single one of us. And when I say within us, I'm not saying like, you know, in your left toe or something, though it's there as well. I mean, it's inside of life. It's inside of this moment. It's inside of how life works. So I'm going to give you an example. How many of you, when you were a little kid, or maybe even still now, had like a teddy bear or a blanket or something like that? Lots of you. Now, you know how it seemed like those beautiful feelings of peace and comfort and security came from the teddy bear or the blanket or whatever? It seemed like that, didn't it? But that's a trick of the mind. So it seemed like the nice feelings were coming from the teddy bear. This is going to be another Narnia moment for you. But actually, 100% of that was coming from you, and none of it had anything to do with Teddy. But it seems like it's coming from the teddy bear. Now, we know that, right? All that's in the teddy bear is stuffing. But it really seems like the teddy bear's got something to do with it, doesn't it? That's a trick of the mind. There's a way that it works. 100% of your felt experience is coming from thought in the moment. And when I say thought, I don't mean the ideas you've got running through your head. I mean this principle that's creating our experience of life. So look around. It seems like, if you're anything like me, it seems like you're looking out through your eyes at a world out there, right? Like you look through a window. And for practical purposes, you are. But how it actually works is that, and you can check the neurology on this. This was discovered in 1855 by a guy called Helmholtz. Data comes pouring into your senses, and then your psyche goes, what must be out there for me to be receiving this data? And it creates a best guess at reality. A best guess at the reality of the moment, of the future, of the past. It's being created second by second by second from within you, from deep within the spiritual and psychological properties that create your experience of life in the moment. And so it seems like it's coming from out there, but Teddy is neutral, has no creative powers. Check this out. Now, this is going to be shocking to some of you. Even my shoes are neutral. I know, right? It's a trick of the mind. That's not possible, Jamie. 100% neutral. 100% neutral. Now, we know it works that way for teddy bears, right? This is yes, this is no, this is, I'm still on the fence. Anyone still on the fence? The teddy bear's got... No, it's all coming from within you. It's all coming from within you. We know it works this way for teddy bears, but then we think it works differently for jobs, for money, for our habits, for my personality, or that guy's personality, other people, or the past, or the future. I'll give you a really clear example of this. Hands up if you're terrified of public speaking. Okay. Now, if I was to say to you, in 5 minutes, I'm going to get you up on this stage, talking to everyone and giving a short talk about something, how would that be? Be terrifying, right? Don't worry, I'm not going to do it. Okay, now I bet if I said that, you know, future plus 5 minutes, now, past, if I said to you, in 5 minutes you're going to be up here doing a talk, you would get a bunch of feelings, and it would seem like they've got something to do with the future, right? Yeah, it would seem like, and that's what it's like for me. It's what it's like for me too. I'll have something happening. Sometimes I get asked to go on TV. Whenever I get the call to go on TV, I'm like, is it live TV? Yes, it's live TV. Now here's the thing, I teach this stuff for a living, but in those moments, it seems to me like the future TV appearance has something to do with it. But that's not possible. There's no way for feelings to travel back through time from a future event into my body, right? Can we agree that that's not currently possible with current technology? Okay, so that's not possible. Yet, hands up if you've ever got freaked out by a future event and thought the future event had something to do with it. We all do. Now, here's the thing. We are all susceptible to believing that our feelings are coming from somewhere other than thought in the moment. We all are at the risk of getting tricked by that. And personally, I get tricked by it every day, okay? That's just part of the human experience. We get into situations or have moments where it seems to us like our feelings are coming from somewhere other than thought. The moment we believe our feelings are coming from somewhere other than thought, then our heads fill up. We start to get a lot on our minds. We get sped up. Because that's Narnia. That's La La Land. It does not work that way. It works inside out. We're always living in the feeling of the principles of thought and mind and consciousness taking form in the moment. But the way it works is it seems like there's more to it than that. And the moment we believe there's more to it than that, we lose touch with reality. And the moment we lose touch with reality, then we need to get back to reality before we can make good decisions and give our best performance and that sort of thing. But here's the problem. The time when I think I'm being most realistic is typically when I'm most out of touch with reality. Is anyone else like that? Anyone else like, normally you're fairly peaceable, but if you're really, really angry, or more, if you're normally kind of, you'll give other people the benefit of the doubt and stuff, but if you get really, really angry, then you're sure you're right? Anyone like that? Just me? Yeah. So, the third insight I had, and I'd been exploring this for maybe 6 months or something when this hit me. And I got to tell you, when I say insight, this wasn't something I figured out. I was at a workshop, at a mastermind group actually, and I went to bed that night. And when I woke up the next morning, I was like, oh, it's a paradigm, it's principles. I suddenly saw it. Like, people had been telling me it for months, but I didn't see the implications of that. And I went, oh, this is principles. And I saw what that meant. And what I saw was, this is the future of psychology. This is, and quite possibly, the future of humanity. Because, I don't know if you know or not, that so they knew about germs as far back as the 1500s. A guy called Leeuwenhoek had a microscope and saw tiny beasts under the lens of his microscope back in the late 1500s. And they knew that when people had like wounds and infections and things like that, there were germs in it. But they didn't think they thought the germs were an effect of the infection. They didn't realize they were causal. And it took till the end of the 1800s for it to be widely accepted by the medical world that there was a paradigm there, that there were facts of how germs work. Now here's why this is interesting. Widespread understanding of germ theory has added 30 years to the average human lifespan on this planet. That's unprecedented in human history. That's an incredible event. And it seems to me that the principles that you're going to be exploring here this weekend are to psychology what the discovery of germ theory has been to medicine. And we live in a world where people have been struggling for millennia against problems that never seem to leave. Problems like war, like inequality and injustice, problems like anxiety and depression, problems like addiction, problems around violence and crime and all kinds of things. And innocently, we've been living in a simple trick of the mind about how our experience works. And as you start to see through that trick of the mind for yourself, it's going to transform your life. As you start to see through that and wake up to the truth of who you really are, the truth of the fact that you're built for reality, that you are optimized for reality, and that the source of the most beautiful experiences that any human being has ever had, that's within you. The source of the most profound insights that any human being has ever had, that's within you. The source of the deepest love and connection, the source of the deepest contentment and satisfaction, it's all there within you. It's all there within every one of us. It's all there within life. It's all there within humanity, within the structure of how we actually work. So I want to give you something that you can hang your hat on. Because the thing with principles is, when you've got principles, then you also have constants. A constant is something that's always reliable. So here's a constant for you. You're living in the feeling of the principle of thought taking form in the moment, 100% of the time, no exceptions, no exceptions. There are never going to be any exceptions, and there never have been any exceptions. That means that every beautiful experience you've ever had was created from within you using the power of thought, brought to life by consciousness, all powered up by mind. Every unpleasant one, that was you too. Sorry, you should hear it like this. And every beautiful feeling and every unpleasant feeling you're ever gonna have will be created by you using the power of thought in the moment. Now, I'm not saying you're doing this on purpose. I'm saying this is how it works. And our feelings are so useful. They're there for a reason. I thought that might be the music telling me it's time to shut up. Your feelings are there for a reason. They're so valuable. There's such deep intelligence in this system. Your feelings are there to give you precise, moment-to-moment reflection of the totality of your thought-generated perceptual reality in the moment. And due to that trick of the mind, we blame it on the teddy bear. But there's so much more intelligence than that in how you work. Life didn't say, you know what? We need to design a system that will allow them to really feel teddy bears and be alert to teddy bears, because those are going to be a big part of life in 200 millennia's time. No, life, the intelligence and wisdom of life, set things up to guarantee that we're always going to be living in the feeling of thought in the moment. We're never going to feel anything other than thought, moment to moment to moment. There's a way that it works, and it's 100% reliable. And as you continue to see that more and more deeply for yourself, it's going to take things off your mind. I'll give you a really simple example. So, my daughters live about 100 miles away from me, in a different part of the country, and I live in the UK. And my business partner, Nikki, lives in the same town that my daughters live in. So I was up for a meeting with Nikki, and I was going to be taking my daughters out for dinner and a movie that evening. They're 12 and 16. And I thought, well, I'll get my car serviced while I'm at it. So I had my car in the garage. And I was due to pick up my car at 5:30. So I rock up at 5:30 to collect my car, and then I was going to go get the girls. So I get to the garage, and my car's not ready, and it's up on one of those car elevators, you know, like. And the guy goes, so I'm like, I'm on a timeline. When's my car going to be ready? He's like, 5 minutes. They're just doing some final checks. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I go sit down, but I'm sketchy. I'm like, 5 minutes, who's got 5 minutes? Yeah. And then I look in the little viewing area, and under the car are these guys in overalls with a blowtorch and a hammer. And they're doing something under my car. And I'm like, that's not 5 minutes. That's not final checks. That's a blowtorch. That's like, which tests involve a blowtorch? But I know better than to go and have it out with them. I don't want to go and speak to the mechanics, because they'll be like, so I'm like, but now I'm even worse, and I'm feeling so uncomfortable that I'm pacing. I'm pacing, and what's going through my head is why do you always do this? You should have left more time. All the stuff. Now what's going to happen? You're going to be late to take. You're going to miss the movie. Really, and all of a sudden, it hits me. Where do you think your feelings are coming from? And I'm like, I was like, do you think they're coming from the car and the mechanics and the movie later and how annoyed your ex-wife's gonna be, and from your past experience of showing up late for things and how badly organized you are and what an idiot you are? And I was like, you know, for a moment there, I did think it really seemed to me like my feelings were letting me know about all that stuff. But my feelings don't even know anything about that stuff. My feelings don't know about the past. My feelings don't know about the future. Your feelings don't know about what this is weird. Your feelings don't even know what you're like as a person. Your feelings know precisely about thought taking form in the moment. That's what your feelings know about. And there's profound intelligence in it. So like the moment I see it, where do you think your feelings are coming from? I'm like, oh, tricked again. The moment I saw it, I fell out of all that. I fell out of Narnia and back into the present. Like, oh, peace flooded into me. And I took my phone out, called my ex-wife. I said, I'm going to be 20, 30 minutes late. Can you feed the girls and we'll go to the movie? She's like, sure. No problem. See, you're designed for reality. When you're hanging it out in reality, you know what to do. And if you don't know what to do, you're cool with it because you know that you will know what to do. And when you're hanging out in Narnia, all bets are off. Because we haven't evolved for Narnia. We've evolved for reality. And so I can guarantee what's going to happen for you. As you continue to explore this and continue to see it for yourself, there are going to be times when you're going to get tricked. And it's going to seem to you like your feelings are coming from somewhere other than thought in the moment. That's going to happen. And then you're going to wake up from it. It's going to occur to you. You're going to see where your feelings are coming from. And the moment you see that you're feeling thought in the moment, and not any of that other stuff, even though it looks like you are, that's going to throw you back into the present. You're going to find yourself back in the here and now. And you're going to find that you have what you need for the job at hand, for whatever's going on. Now, what you need is going to depend from context to context. What you need when you're hanging out with a lover on a summer night may be very, very different from what you need when you're driving a rally car. I've never driven a rally car, but it's just what came to me. Or working on a report, or in the midst of a sales meeting, or giving an inspiring talk, or figuring out a technical challenge. But if you're hanging out in reality, you're going to find that you have what you need. Now, what you might need, I'll give you another example. I used to weigh a lot more than I do now. I used to weigh about 50% more than I do now. And so over the last few years, as I've started to see these principles more deeply, I've just got more in tune with what my body wants and what doesn't work for me and that sort of thing. It's funny, actually, the wonderful Elaine Halides, who's going to be speaking later this weekend, she and I have known each other for a long time, and she used to dig me about drinking Diet Coke. And the more she told me, you really shouldn't drink that, it's embalming fluid and that sort of thing, the more I would drink it. And then at the beginning of this year, it just occurred to me, it probably doesn't make sense for me to keep drinking that stuff. I guess sometime this year I'll stop drinking it. And then, but I didn't have any I didn't need to make it into a big goal or anything like that. And then all of a sudden I wasn't drinking it anymore. It's like, well, that's wisdom. If you're hanging out in reality, wisdom's just another word for fresh, new thought that's relevant to the moment. So that's one of the things that can happen for you this weekend, is you fall out of your habitual patterns of thought and back into the present moment. You might get hit by a fresh new thought that you never had before, that'll do something for you, that'll take things off your mind, that'll help you out. So then I I decided I wanted to do weightlifting. I'd never really been into weightlifting before, but yeah, I read this article. It was this long study by the British Medical Journal, or reported in the British Medical Journal, saying that for men, there was a direct correlation between physical strength and how long you live. The physically stronger you are, the longer you live. Now, it's correlation rather than causation. They're two different things. But I thought, well, I'll get strong. Probably a good idea. So I was about to go and start smashing it out at the gym, and then I remembered that in the past, whenever I'd done that, I'd injured myself within 2 or 3 weeks and stopped going to the gym. What should I do? Get a trainer. Well, that's wisdom. So I found a good trainer, and he showed me how to do it properly, so I hadn't injured myself. So wisdom will give you what you need in the moment. Now, that doesn't mean that if you, I don't know, decide you want to be a high wire artist or a concert pianist or someone doing open heart surgery, doesn't mean you shouldn't study and that you'll just know how to do it intuitively in the moment. Yeah, glove me up. But understanding where your experience is coming from is going to allow you to navigate the ups and downs of life with elegance. It's going to allow you to learn more easily. It's going to allow you to connect more deeply. You know, people often ask me, what's the, give it to me straight, what's the number one thing this has done for you? What's the biggest difference it's made for you? Well, the biggest difference it's made for me is my connection with other people. Having a felt connection with people. You know, long before I got to this understanding, I was good at getting into rapport with people. I could get it, I'm good with people, could get into rapport. But I never felt connected to anyone else. I never even felt connected to myself, at least not since I stopped drinking. It was pretty good for that. But here's the thing. Alcohol was a teddy bear. When I used to drink, I would fall out of the misunderstanding and into the moment. And then I would blame the nice feelings that showed up on the alcohol. If alcohol was the source of the feelings, then you could give it to rocks and you would have rocks that felt really good. But it doesn't have any effect on rocks because rocks don't have those feelings within them. Every beautiful feeling you've ever felt came from within you. Every inspiring idea you've ever had came from deep within who you really are, from within the essence of your being. You know, this conference is called Unlimited. And the reality is you already are unlimited. In fact, every single thing that you've experienced as limitation until now is something that you created. That's how powerful you are. Everything you think would make you happy, you're the one. Everything you've ever had where you thought, oh, it was amazing when that happened, or it was amazing when this happened. You brought all the amazing to that experience, then gave the other things some of the credit. You're the source of the power. You really, really are. And I'm not saying this in a, go, you are the way. No, I don't mean like that. I mean, it's always been you. I mean, this is how it works. This is who you really are. And here's what I can promise you. The way that we work is that we're able to create this experiential reality and experience it as an actual reality, experience it as real. We're able to do that. That's how powerful you are. You're doing it right now. 100% of your experience of me and this room is being created from within you. Even this bit. Does anyone not find that odd? It's really, really odd. That's how powerful you are. You're doing it moment to moment to moment to moment. And I can promise you there will be times when you'll lose sight of it and it'll seem like it's coming from outside of you. And it'll seem like what I'm saying, it must be more complicated than that. And then you'll wake up to it and you'll fall back into the present. One of my clients, Scott James, posted something on Facebook the other day. I'm going to see if I can remember it. Yeah, this was it. He said, before you're thinking, you already are everything you've ever wished for. Everything you've ever desired, everything you've ever hoped for, everything you've ever dreamed of or longed for or yearned for, you already have it. You already are it. You already are everything that you think you need, everything you thought you lacked. You already are it. And I know you may be thinking, Jamie, I think I'm an exception, but this is not personal. This is how it works. So my vision is, just like all of us were born into a world where all the adults already understand germs and radio and that sort of thing. My vision is of a world where every child is born into a world where the adults already understand the inside-out nature of life. Where as a society and as a civilization and as a species, we've seen through the innocent misunderstanding that's held us in thrall for so long. Because what we're talking about here is the end of chronic psychological suffering. And it holds incredible hope for us as individuals and as organizations and as an entire species. And I never thought I would ever be alive when something like this was coming into the world. Never thought I would ever get to have anything to do with it. And the fact that we're all here together today is extraordinary to me. And if you're here and you've been looking in this direction for a while, I'm delighted that you're here, and I'm delighted to be on the journey with you. And if you're here and this is the first time you've started, hearing about this or looking in this direction, I'm really delighted and I'm super excited for you, because I know we've all only seen a little, and there's so much more in store for us. And even by the end of this weekend, we're going to have seen a lot more. So I'm really looking forward to meeting each and every one of you and getting to know you better. Thank you for your attention.